Hello friends and welcome to The Press. Match day 8 brought us 4 games littered with remontadas at the Club World Cup. And speaking of comebacks, look who we've got here. Journalist and broadcaster Julien Laurent and football analyst Liaz Bouzidi join me again to talk through it all. Right, let's get you up to speed on everything. A brilliant game in Cincinnati as Borussia Dortmund edge out Mamelodi Sundowns in a 7-goal thriller. Jobe Bellingham scoring on his full debut. In Seattle, Inter Milan came from behind at the death to beat Urawa Red Diamonds, including a stunner from Lautaro Martinez. We take a look at how Christian Kivu's men did it. Fluminense had to turn it around against a spirited Ulsan HD side. 6 goals this time in New Jersey, and heartbreak for the South Korean side. And a cagey affair in Pasadena as River Plate and Monterrey play out a goalless draw. It's all up for grabs now in Group E. Okay, you saw the fans there, and there's been plenty of activity on social media as well. Remember, you can get involved too. Let us have your comments and thoughts using the hashtag #ThePressCWC. So here's a couple of the comments from you guys. First up, he's back. That's right, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a River Plate fan, apparently, and he cheers for River Plate. Next up, this is madness. Have you ever seen a referee hand out his cards after the game? Woke nonsense, in my opinion. And no. And last up, no, this is gorgeous stuff. No, not Buenos Aires, it's a club in Miami at 6 a.m. on the day of the Boca Juniors versus Bayern Munich clash. Boca fans unrivaled, and there must have been some sore heads this morning, I would guess. Right then, guys, let's get going, shall we? Mamelodi Sundowns are fast becoming a huge story at the Club World Cup. I am loving their unique style of play, and we're truly seeing why they're known as the Brazilians. Let's have a look at the highlights from their game here. They were absolutely sensational and took the lead. Brilliant stuff from Ribeiro. We'll be talking about him in a bit more detail. Then it all went awry. Our first comeback in our first game. Williams with the mistake there. Another good press from Dortmund, and they're on their way again. Guirassy scoring here at the back post. And then it was time for Jobe, if my memory serves me right. Yeah, Jules getting his first goal in his second game. In his first start, that's right. But it wasn't over. They got themselves another one, 4-1, and it was looking pretty devastating for Mamelodi Sundowns. Kovac thought he had the game in the bag, but Mamelodi Sundowns, they were doing bits in this game. They were all over them throughout. And it got pretty hairy, finishing 4-3. Motiba, the substitute, coming on and scoring a goal there. That was so much fun, that game, wasn't it? Probably my favourite game of the tournament. Was it for you? Yeah,
and we said yesterday on the show that we felt maybe there could be something there for Mamelodi against Dortmund that we're not really impressed with, and they was just maybe a bit too naive defensively, as we saw in some of the goals. But going with the ball, going forward, they're just amazing.
Yes, let's explain why. I'm Mamelodi Sundowns now. It's official. I love them as we head to the tactics board, because these are the two teams, and you would imagine Dortmund to have their way in this game. It should have been comfortable, but no. Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa are here to play. These are the average positions, and what you can see from this is, first of all, the press from Dortmund was pretty good, and we'll show that in a second. But the movement of some of these players, and I just want to kind of run through a few of them and maybe a couple of stats as well, because the freedom that they play with, we spoke about Mokoena on the press, Jules. You spotted a really great thing about Mokoena where he drops deep into this back line and he's not afraid to do that, but also sometimes drifts forward as well if it works for him. But Matthews, here's a stat for you. 2 dribbles attempted, 2 dribbles successful. He was a live wire throughout the game. Reyners up top, 12 passes attempted, 100% pass completion. All 12 were accurate. You do not see that a lot of the time. Allende, I think he's my favourite. He is absolutely fantastic. Gets on the ball and runs with it. 4 key passes in this game. He had 7 out of his 8 long balls were successful as well. So this shows you that although they were 4-1 up, it was all about Mamelodi Sundowns, and Ribeiro, absolutely fantastic in this game. And he won 9 of his 10 ground duels, and Mamelodi Sundowns actually won 60% of their ground duels as well. So really, really free team. Let's show you some clips of them? Because from an attacking point of view, they were just so much fun, Jules, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, and you mentioned the verticality in their game. Matthews there on that left-hand side, always a threat. Dortmund with their back five, really struggling to stop those runs and the passes. And on this occasion, it didn't come out of anything. But again, you look there, first is going forward, that pass there, they've got the extra man everywhere, they're going to go wide again. And then this is Matthews again in that position, and again, it could have been much better. And maybe one of the favorite one is Ribeiro in that
just bounces
position.
off him there,
bounces
doesn't
off
it?
him between the lines. This time it doesn't really go exactly as he wants. He's a Brazilian, and that's why he's suited perfectly. But look at this. Control
This
the ball
is
on
unreal,
his back
people.
foot, and then it's an Atem Ben Arfa goal for Newcastle against Bolton.
Look at the motor on him.
And then the three against the goalkeeper, and he finishes properly.
Brilliant finish.
Just stunning stuff. And Dortmund, they didn't know what to do. And the stats back it up. 16 shots to 8, an XG of 2.6 to 2.19, 41 final third entries to 33. And as I said, Jules won many, many more from Mamelodi Sundowns. And I think the other thing to talk about here is the big chances, because as we saw, 8 shots in that game, but 4 big chances for Borussia Dortmund, who kind of they sort of hung in there, but then they hurt themselves here, didn't Mamelodi Sundowns, didn't they?
I think when you have a team this expansive and this free-flowing, there is sometimes a bit of naivety that creeps in, and I think that mistake from Williams right there, it is a great press from Dortmund, and you saw throughout this game, a lot of the chances they were creating was by winning the ball high up, punishing Mamelodi, but I mean, this is my favorite goal of the lot. Guirassy starts to move up, plays it out wide, and then on side to just finish it off as well, too. And I think at the moment, he's one of the more underrated centre forwards in Europe. Yeah,
very, very dominant stuff from Dortmund. And of course, Joe Bellingham getting a goal as well. It's one of those ones where it just could have been so different. Obviously, 4-1, they get it back to 4-3. But when you've given them those goals, and they did, didn't they? And if you think of the 4th goal as well, that was an own goal.
Yeah.
So they didn't really deserve, in my opinion, any of those goals. I appreciate the press was solid, but all the great play, for me, came from Mamelodi Sundowns throughout the game. Now, the game was on at midday, so it was hot. And so the Dortmund subs had a different way of tackling that heat. So check this out. It goes to social board now. You can see our subs watched the first half from inside the locker room to avoid the blazing sun at TQL Stadium. Never seen that before, but in this heat, it absolutely makes sense, according to Borussia Dortmund FC. 32 degrees, 55% humidity. Do you think that kind of plays a factor in all of this, in terms of the, I want to use that word, electricity of Mamelodi Sundowns? Maybe they're just a bit more acclimatised to the heat.
Absolutely.
Dortmund couldn't handle them at all, could they?
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's one thing to want to play and to want to attack all the time and have that verticality and all those runs off the ball, etc. And it's another thing to be able to do it under that heat at that time of kickoff. Yes. But if you've been used to it and if you play in those conditions more regularly than others, then it's easier for you. And it's another thing about this competition. South American teams and Central American teams are doing well, like African teams as well, probably because the weather is something that they're more used to.
I think it's remarkable as well, too, right? Obviously, they lose this game, but a team from South Africa is going head-to-head, toe-to-toe with one of the biggest teams in Europe. The wage bill, I mean, the finances compared from Dortmund to Mamelodi is ridiculous. So I think teams like this should really be proud of the efforts that they're giving, man, because when else do you get to see the opportunity to even play these teams? And
you're right, because it feels like we're kind of getting almost desensitized to this.
This shouldn't be normal what we're watching right now. No.
And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the competition and what would the sort of competitive nature of the tournament be like. But we have seen quite clearly that South American teams can dominate and beat the best teams in Europe. And Mamelodi Sundowns, a team that I think not the whole world maybe didn't know about, they now absolutely know about Mamelodi Sundowns. They are fantastic, still in with a chance of going through. Wouldn't put it against them to do that as well. One quick chat on Joe Bellingham, because as you can see actually, if we can get back to the tactics board just for a second, what you can see from the average positions of Job here is that channel here that he was allowed to use a little bit more. If I would just move Gross back a little bit, because he would go up at times when he would get on the ball, but otherwise he would sort of drop deep here. Job in that, I'm calling him Joe now because we're mates. Joe Bellingham in that sort of area there, it was a channel that he used a lot for Sunderland. How did you feel about his performance? Did you feel like it was one where he impressed overall?
Yeah, I think we said he made a good entrance in the first game. We talked about his scanning, we talked about his body position, the body shape. All of that is at such a young age, he's already ready for that. And there was just really a goal missing or a bit of composure in the box. And I thought he had it today. It's a great start to his career.
Yeah. Absolutely. OK. So, on paper, this was going to be a straightforward affair for Fluminense in this next game. But in practice, it was anything but. OK, let's have a look at this. A stunning free kick from Arias. We're going to dive deep on this one in just a sec. They took the lead. Fluminense overall dominated, but it was with the first goal, and it was their first shot, Olsen HD. And then a shot was on the cards. Lee, with this diving header, did brilliantly there. Kind of made that decision, I'm heading this, even though he probably could have volleyed it. And they were in the lead. And Fluminense were panicking for a second. They did have a lot of the ball, and they were looking to get those crosses in, and sooner or later it felt like it was going to kind of come to be. And maybe the fans played a part in this one, Lias. They were there out in force. You can see them there, can't you?
Definitely. I mean, I think Fluminense at times were really, really good. There was a little bit of a stutter at times because Olsen really kind of put some pressure, but I think the substitutes were a massive, massive difference maker in this game, specifically from Fluminense's point of view.
Absolutely. So you can see they're very happy there. Freitas, you had a bit of an altercation with Thiago Silva a little bit earlier. They weren't happy with the defending. And then in the final minutes, Keno with the header.
He was brilliant.
Lovely little header in the corner there. Came on and made a huge difference. We'll talk about that in just a second. Right, let's have a look at the group then. Of course, we've got one game left. We're all Mamelodi, aren't we? Nah, who knows? Borussia Dortmund will play Olsen HD and Mamelodi Sundowns against Fluminense. A huge game, as you can see. Fluminense 4 points, Dortmund 4 points, Sundowns with 3, and Olsen HD, sadly, pointless in the group. OK, so we all got a little excited when we saw that Ganso was in the starting lineup for Fluminense. And let's tell people about Ganso. We sort of spoke about Beloli yesterday and the story of him. Another character, Ganso.
Yeah, absolutely. He's 35 years old now, so most of his career is behind him, really. But if you go back almost 20 years back, in Brazil, he was this prodigy, absolutely incredible talent with his left foot, old school number 10, if you want, a la Riquelme, for example. A bit slow, but technically so gifted. Made his debut very young for Santos, kind of at the same time as Neymar, although he's 3 years older. Then moved to Sao Paulo, and then obviously, as many of them, comes to Europe. And Europe just never really, I think, understood his game. He came to France for a little bit as well after Sevilla, but went back home, and he's in South America. He's a legend of the game because of the way he plays, but he's just never had that breakthrough in Europe, really.
He's my kind of player. Tell me about him as a player, as we see some of the good bits and then some of the problems that can maybe come with Ganso, who actually only lasted 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Ganso is a wizard on the ball. Well, a left foot is an absolute one, and you saw it at times. Look at the way he just takes that down. Like, bam,
on
nothing.
String.
Strikes it, and then plays that over. Falls to him. Most players, I don't know, maybe they take a touch. No, bam. Oh, my goodness. Ganso's got a left foot of it's a one, man. And he is, again, similar to Belali, a player that can just create moments of magic. That's absolutely ridiculous, man. Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous.
He sees the game before kind of anyone else, but he loves to play one touch, doesn't he?
100%. Yeah. He's very direct. He plays at a different speed to everybody else, and maybe this is kind of the problem because at times you almost feel he's on a different wavelength to everybody. Is this the right decision here? It might be. Honestly, it wasn't the worst idea. And when you look at how high up the pitch as well, too, Fluminense should probably defend a little bit better. But I think the one thing of Ganso as well, too, is at times you do feel like it becomes the Ganso show. It's all really about him. It's all focused on him. And the decision to take him off at halftime, I think, is a big one from the manager because if it doesn't go well, question marks at him.
Absolutely, a huge decision. And, of course, Ulsan did go in the lead at some point, but there was a goal first, and it was from Arias, who we spoke about on the press after Fluminense's first games, discussing how he wasn't that great from range. We might have got that wrong. And this free kick is really, really unique. You can see there how far he bends away. It's so unique. Because, look, very little follow-through there, but he has to lean away as much as he does so that he can keep the ball down. I've never seen anything like this, really, but keep doing it, Arias, because it's obviously working for you. And the fans, of course, went wild. And we've had some good free kicks over the last few days, but to see the difference between the two, these, again, it's one where players are allowed to figure it out the way they want to figure it out. And Arias was one that maybe his overall... It was the opposite this time, wasn't it? The overall play wasn't totally brilliant.
Yeah.
But getting them in the lead with a unique free kick there.
Yeah, pretty amazing, because we all thought Ganso would take it.
Yeah.
He could have easily been taken by a left footer instead, and we were like, come on, Ganso, yeah, this is it. And then he scored a lot, and instead it was Arias with this very unique technique. As we said, we saw Messi the other night in a similar position, left-footed, taking it completely differently.
So here's Arias leaning back and do it. Here's Lionel Messi, a bit more conventional, leaning forward to get it up and down. Yeah. Really, really
this
lovely
is a bit
stuff.
Of wizardry as well,
I mean, who cares how it happens? But it's just really nice to sort of break down the technique here and see kind of how they get it done. Same corner, of course, as well. Lovely stuff there. Keno, it was a big change that was made. As I said, Ganso, icon at Fluminense, taken off. Keno comes on, Nonato comes on as well. It made a huge difference for Fluminense.
He made, because when Ganso plays on the pitch, he stays central, obviously, but the ball comes to him very central and it's easy to defend against. Whereas with Keno, the ball goes wide very quickly. We see Nonato, who also came on, get the ball straight away in 2 passes, you're on that wing, and then it's Keno one-on-one against his defender. That little drop of the shoulder shimmy, and then the ball comes back to Nonato, lovely touch, lovely finish. And suddenly everything went more wide, and that width was very important from a Fluminense point of view. And we see again another cross from Arias, and Keno is at the right place, right time, great header to close the game out. But those substitutions from Renato Gaucho really made a massive difference.
Yeah, just a little bit more quality. There was a real focus down that left-hand side. But Fluminense had 70% of the possession. They had 25 shots. And in terms of passes into the final third, 220. Yeah. When we touch on Fluminense and that final game, big game against my very own Mamelodi Sundowns, how do you feel about that matchup? Because one thing you have to say about Fluminense is, if we want to say it nicely, very experienced.
Yeah.
If we want to say it a bit cruelly. Maybe lacking a couple of, a bit of legs. Like, how do you see that game playing out?
The first half from Fluminense, I really wasn't impressed whatsoever, and I thought Ulsan took a deserved lead. I think the second half, like Jules points out, the substitutions and the width that they kind of introduced into that team really made a difference. But I wasn't really overly impressed, whereas Mamelodi lose the game, but I think they showed a lot more. And I look at that final group, and I think it's really contrasting styles. Like you said, a lot of experience in that team, but there is a bit of youthful joy to Mamelodi. There is a bit of off-the-cuff playing, and I favor Mamelodi in this game.
Okay.
We're all Mamelodi, man. I'm there.
Yeah, you're with me.
I'm there.
You're with me. Good. Okay, so Inter left it late. Really late against Urawa Red Diamonds. Kivu's men trailed for 67 minutes before Lautaro Martinez Magic kicked off the comeback. So, here we go. A good start, and Martinez couldn't find the magic initially, hitting the crossbar there at Kivu in his second game. We're going to ask the guys if they're convinced by Kivu a little bit later on. But then, Urawa with that, I think it's Kaneko with the nutmeg, dirty little nutmeg there, and Watanabe, the top scorer for Urawa Red Diamonds, scoring the goal. But there's that Martinez magic. We're not giving it as a bicycle kick. I'm not having it. I'm sorry. It's like a tricycle kick. I don't know what it is, but it's not.
Tricycle.
Yeah, trike. Maybe a trike. We'll call it that. And then it fell for them right at the end of the game, getting themselves a last-minute winner. Carboni, the youngster, coming in, stepping up and scoring a goal. So, Christian Kivu's side struggled against Monterrey in their first outing, but Kivu made a lot of changes in his team against Urawa. Let's have a look at how they set up, because you can see this is how the natural setup. You had DeMarco coming in, Augusto as a left-sided centre-back, Darmian as the right-sided centre-back, Henrique as well on the right side. And initially it looked like this, Esposito as well coming in for his brother. But what's really interesting, and because we're looking for that identity from Kivu, you've had Inzaghi, maybe we need to move on a little bit. And Darmian and Henrique are a really, really interesting area of the game today, because in terms of Darmian and Henrique, and Augusto as well, these are two players that can play as wing-backs, but are also currently playing as the two right-sided and left-sided centre-backs. And Darmian in particular, you've got a guy who's a real hybrid. He can play as a full-back, he can play as a wing-back, which he did in the first game. And with Henrique starting here, but being really comfortable stepping in, it meant that Darmian could come round the side, or he could underlap as well. Barella, who played brilliantly, would drop in at different times as well. And it was really, really interesting to see that, because that's something that with Dumfries in the team, you wouldn't see that movement. He would stay high and wide. And yes, you might have some underlapping runs, but apart from that, you wouldn't see much more. But it was a really interesting use of Darmian. Augusto didn't really do it as much, and the main reason for that is that DiMarco is a player that likes to stay wide and get those crosses in. Let's see it in action then, exactly what I've just said there, because you can see that three at the back there. Darmian on that right-hand side. And as I said, he played as a right wing-back in the first game, and actually he liked to bomb on a lot, and Kivu didn't want him to stop doing that. And as you can see, here's the underlapping run. And this is all from the same passage of play. Inter Milan had the ball for the bulk of the game. And so just a few seconds later, he's now back in essentially a right full-back position. It's still in that back three, but they're allowing him to do what he wanted to do at the right times and really feel out the game. Here he is again, and now Henrique's been able to get the ball. He's making that underlapping run to allow Henrique to step in. And then from here, Darmian, the right-sided centre-back, doesn't go back. He carries on. It's very positive. He stays in the box, and as it plays out here, you see DiMarco on that left-hand side, the cross comes in, and Darmian nearly gets himself a goal. So a really interesting move here from that right-sided centre-back. Now, we've seen Bastoni, who didn't play in this one, which was a bit of an interesting one, step in and make those runs, but not in this same style when it came to Inter Milan. The other thing that was huge, I think, for Inter were crosses. There were, let me see what it was, 49 crosses. Lies, do you feel like they were they're lacking something when it comes to the attacking side? Because they dominated the game, but 49 crosses, just 3 big chances. To put that into context, Urawa had 3 crosses in the whole game. What are they missing?
They're missing a player that can almost just take the ball and commit, guys. And I've felt this way about Inter for a long time. They are a wonderful side, especially under Inzaghi. They were one of the best tactical sides in Europe. But oftentimes, you look at the best teams around. You look at Olise yesterday for Bayern. You look at Yamal, what he's done for Barca. You have players that can just kind of get on the ball and make things happen on their own, outside of the system, break systems on their own. And I feel like when I watch Inter, they do lack a player like that. If at times the system isn't able to break another team down, they almost just kind of they kind of just resort to crosses, whether it's Dumfries or today, the likes of Darmian.
So are we convinced with Kivu?
I think it's a bit early. I was never convinced when he was appointed anyway.
You're not sure, Lias, are you?
I think he's very young for a job like this. That is a rebuilding job at one of the top teams in the last 5 years in Europe and in Italy. A team that should have won more trophies. Personally, I don't think he's ready. But he might prove me wrong, but he might be out by November.
I agree completely with Jules. It's impossible to know. Kivu has managed so little in his career to this point. He coached 13 games for Parma. Previous to that, he was coaching at the academy level. One thing I will say about Kivu, and I give him massive credit today, this is an old squad, but he is making an effort to bring in young players. And that's really the risk with taking him, but it's also the reward. Because I look at this Inter team over the last few years, it's one of the oldest squads in Europe, so many 35-plus-year-olds. And he's made a real effort to bring in some players that he even managed at academy level, but even the likes of Aslani, who we didn't see too much under Inzaghi. He's starting to become a focal point in his team, perhaps.
Yep, a youngster getting the winner as well in Carboni. So River Plate's match-up against CF Monterrey, it was a quiet affair. But Monterrey's Esteban Andrada was tested in goal a few times. Let's have a look. So we can see it here. Honestly, guys, this was a tough one. I'll be honest. There wasn't a crazy amount going on, but as you can see there, blood on his hands for that one, I'd have to say, in this 0-0 game. It was the last one, and I think, do you know what? I think we used up all the chaos. We used up all the fun. Mastantuono with a shot there, probably the best shot that we saw from him. We're going to show you some of his runs as he had his second outing in the Club World Cup here. They were pushing River Plate, but the stats are interesting with this one. 17 shots to River Plate to just 3. But in terms of possession, actually, Monterrey, 59% to 41%. We had a red card right at the end of the game as well.
Castaño there with the second yellow.
Yeah.
OK. And Ramos,
he loves it, with that one, isn't he? This is his bread and butter, man.
Now, that red card, I wonder if they gave that one out. That's what you want. If you're going to use it, then you might want it.
Yeah.
Gallardo, just getting on with it. They're still in there. Let's have a look at the group. So, 4 points to River Plate. Of course, they won their first game. Inter Milan, with that crucial last-minute winner, makes them joint top of the group. Monterrey, with 2 draws out of 2, and Urawa Red Diamonds with no points at all.
Group is brilliantly set up, by the way, after the final day.
It is wide open. OK, versus Monterrey, it was another chance to see Franco Mastantuono. I really have been practicing that. That was good, wasn't it? Come on. And after a quiet performance against Urawa, this was an opportunity for him to raise the bar. Did he raise the bar, do you think?
Again, some really good things, really some great first touches like this one, great runs, great skills again to get that free kick there. But in the end, I mean, he made 5 passes in the first 40 minutes of this game. It's just not enough when you're, again, the best player in your team, I think. And this ball, for example, shows the quality, the vision. This is a great ball. But it was just, for me, there was just not enough of that. And again, he's still only 17. He's very young. He will get better. Even this, I think, it's a great ball from Colidio. He's there. He's going to come back onto his left foot, no problem. The shot is not a good shot. It's an easy save. It's an easy save for the goalkeeper. It's a save that you expect him to make.
I think you're being a little harsh. I hear you for sure, but I think...
Then tell me then, what was good about this?
I think he created a few chances.
Where?
The first, the one that he plays down the line.
That's not a chance.
Okay, but it's a chance that leads to it. It's a pass that leads to a chance. I think with West Ham Toronto, we're looking for too much in terms of the end product, which I get it. When you're going to Real Madrid, we are looking for a superstar in the making. But I think with West Ham Toronto, you see enough quality in moments to kind of suggest that in a better environment, like as he progresses at Real Madrid, you will see a player.
It did feel a bit stagnant from River Plate. I'm sort of caught in between the two. You know, we've been waiting for these guys. You know, Esteval, you know, they've had 2 games now, both of them. You're expecting a bit more. I think what I would say is I think he feels a little bit starved there, and that's why he's not just kind of waiting for the ball on the right-hand side. He's drifting over to that left-hand side to try and go and sort things out or get involved. I think he's a little bit frustrated there because if you're 17, 18, 19 and you're on this stage, you really want to be able to deliver. So maybe he's trying a little bit too hard at the moment. But Mastantuono watch will continue. Don't worry about that.
Third game, please.
Third game's the one, maybe. Of course, against Inter Milan. OK. We've watched every game of the Club World Cup here on The Press, and we think that some players might be on the move. It is transfer season after all. We've put forward 5 players who could be the topic of transfer discussions this summer in our Transfer Watch. OK then, guys. We love a bit of transfer chat here. It's lovely. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you a goalkeeper, a defender, a midfielder, a winger or a wide forward, and a striker as well. I'll kick us off with the goalkeeper. And I think there's a little triangle that could be going on here. There's been a lot of chat about Emi Martinez leaving Aston Villa. Aston Villa kind of wanting to maybe get a bit of money in from that, but also Emi Martinez. Jules, you were saying that it might be someone who might want to move on. Liège, your team, Manchester United, are linked with him. But if that one doesn't work out, I want to talk about Kobel. Kobel at Dortmund, I think, has been fantastic in this tournament. Has been a bit of a tournament for the goalkeepers, but as a younger goalkeeper, I think he's about 26, 27 at this point, market value of about 35 million. He made a double save here in the first game against Fluminense that kept them in it. He's been absolutely superb. He's a great shot stopper. Contract's up in 2028. Liège, how do you feel about this one? Would you have him at Man United?
If he has 2 working hands, I would take him at Man United. Clearly, we're in a situation ever since David De Gea left the club. Onana came in for big money, but I think so far has really flattered to deceive. And I look at Kobel, I completely agree. He is a safe pair of hands in goal. That Champions League run to the final a few years back, I thought he was massive for them. And I even look on the ball as well, too. I was reading the numbers beforehand. In terms of short passes completed, he does rank pretty high in the Bundesliga over the last season. So I think United could probably do worse than looking at Kobel.
Jules, can I just come to you on this one? Because he's little dig there at Onana. Now, you feel it might be a bit... It might be a bit deeper than that when it comes to Onana, of course. Do you think that if Kobel was to go to a team like Manchester United, who do seem to be in the market for a goalkeeper right now, do you think it would be a place that he could thrive, or is it going to be difficult for anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a problem in structure and there's a problem in coaching at United. We saw that under Ten Hag. For Onana to have such a drop in terms of form and performances, it might be him to be.
You think it can't just be?
It can't just be on him.
He can't disappear.
Sorry. The guy was the best goalkeeper in the Champions League in the season where they reached the final with Inter Milan against Man City, and then suddenly he's one of the worst. It can't just be on him. So I think there's a problem. I like Kobel a lot, but I think there's an environment issue there for goalkeepers.
Okay, let's move on to our defender now, Joaquin Piqueres, a 26-year-old left-back for Palmeiras. His market value, other market values are available, but the one that we've found for him, about 9.6 million. Jules, you've been really, really impressed by his ability on that left-hand side. Yeah,
he came back he had an injury at the start of the season, the first half of the season, but has come back really, really strong. Uruguayan international now, so he can play left-back, left wing-back, also centre-back. He's got that quality on the ball. He's 6 foot, so he's got the right size. And a club like Bournemouth, who needs defenders because they've lost 3 of their back 4 in Howson, Kerkez and very soon Zabani. I think he's great. Brighton love their South American little gems that they can find, and I think he's 26 years old. It's perfect for him to come to Europe.
Yeah, I really, really like the idea of Piquerez at Bournemouth, because even this season, in my content, I was putting him forward for, putting left backs forward for Bournemouth, because Kerkez is kind of the only left back there. So, I mean, at this stage, I'm going to get linked with Bournemouth when it comes to defenders. So
all
Piquerez,
3 of us.
So it's getting ugly there. So they need to sign someone, and he would be a really good option. Maybe be that little bit cheaper than, you know, we're saying Kobel's 35 million. That's a lot less. So maybe there's some bargains. I mean, we've seen how competitive South American teams have been. Sticking with Palmeiras, then, into our centre midfielder. We all love this player. Richard Rios, the Colombian. Liaz, talk to me about this player. What's he like?
He's terrific. He had an amazing Copa America campaign a few years back for Colombia, and I was actually very shocked that he didn't move on. But in terms of being a really good athlete in midfield, being very good on the ball as well, too, has goals in him. I see a lot of potential in him, and I look at a club like Atletico Madrid, who you see some of the midfield profiles. I think Riquelme is probably out the door. Barrios is very good, but very young. De Paul, I'm a big fan of him. And Gallagher is more of a guy who comes in as an impact substitute. I do see potentially a spot for Rios in Atletico Madrid.
Okay, in January linked with Tottenham and Everton. Recently, Nottingham Forest, Manchester United, and Atletico Madrid as well. 20 caps for Colombia. Market value of 14.6 million. I've been really impressed with him. I think that'd be a fantastic buy. Destined for Europe, Jules has told me. So it's coming, right? And then wide forward position. The big one, Rodrigo, 24 years old. I think the big question here is, with all the talk about him at Arsenal, as much as it being about that, should he leave Real Madrid? What do you think, Liz?
Well, if you ask him, he says that he's happy at Madrid and he wants to fight for his place. And Alonso said he's happy to work with him. And look, this is an amazing assist from Rodrigo, which showcases the quality that he does possess. But a lot of times in this game, you saw Rodrigo almost hugging the touchline on the right, at times almost playing like a right wing back. And I love Rodrigo, but I don't think he really gets the chance to showcase his best game. And he's a bit unfortunate because his best game comes on the left. And Real Madrid arguably have the 2 best left-sided players in the world, in Vinicius and Mbappe, when they're both clicking.
So should he move for you?
I believe for him to reach his max individual potential, he might need to make that move. And he might not see it at the moment, but I think towards the end of this window, the way it's going, Arda Güler, Alonso has come out and said that he sees a big role for him. I think it might be best for Rodrigo to look elsewhere.
Yeah, just quickly, there's some hurdles in place there when it comes to Rodrigo, isn't there?
And the biggest one is the fee that Real Madrid would want. We talked about valuation earlier. For him, we're talking 18, 90 million euros, which even for a club like Arsenal, there's no way they're going to pay that for him. Neither would Bayern Munich, neither with another club, even top club that is looking for a left winger.
Okay, interesting. And then the striker position, we're going to go with Pavlidis. Now, he has got a contract till 2029, but there's been so much conversation when it comes to strikers. We spoke about Samu on the press, didn't we, Liaz, a few days ago. From his league games, 19 goals, 7 assists from 34 games, market value of about 25 million. Jules, what do you think about him?
I love him. I love how he went from the Eredivisie to the Portuguese league with great effects. Wonderful feet, he's strong, he's good, he's just all-around game, he's really good, he's got great vision. We've seen him in Europe this season being great for Benfica. Okay, they missed out on the title in the last day of the season to Sporting, but I think overall it would be great for a club like Inter Milan, who is looking for another option up front. Same for Napoli with Lukaku. So I think for clubs like that, Pavlidis makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, great stuff. Thank you. Okay, well, what a night it's been. Let's have a look at the socials one last time before we go. And as you can see, it was all about the fans, both out there in America, but also everyone watching at home. Stunning games, comebacks aplenty, lots of goals. You love to see it. Thank you so much to Liaz and Julian. This is what's coming up later today. So, we've got Juventus versus Wydad at 5 p.m. Real Madrid. Rodrigo, will he get a goal or assist again against Pachuca at 8 p.m. FC Salzburg, who impressed me actually, against Al Hilal, who also impressed me. The impressed me battle at 11 p.m. Manchester City versus Al Ain at 2 a.m. But most crucially, the press at 4:30 a.m. Make sure you join us. So, huge thank you to Liaz and Julian. And Liaz, you'll be back tomorrow?
Of course.
Thank goodness for that. So that is all for today from the press. We will see you again tomorrow here on the DAZN app. Make sure you've got it.